Hello everyone and welcome to another Versus video. I am BBD and I'm joined by...
CBM.
Yep, and we are here to battle some Modern. Last weekend was a Grand Prix, Modern Grand Prix, that featured a deck that had a full 4 Siege Rhinos. But that's the deck that CVM's playing, and I'm actually playing a Temur Delver deck that won the tournament. So this deck looked pretty awesome. It's got 4 Delver Secrets, 4 Goyfs, and 4 Young Pyromancers. So it's a lot like the blue-red Delver decks, but it gets a little bit bigger with Goyf, which I really like that. When you expect to play against other blue-red Delver decks, a card like Tarmogoyf is just going to be a massive beating.
Not only that, but when the format is just starting to turn into this, Treasure Cruise Delver deck versus the World, games will get a little slower, games are going to get pretty grindier, and just having, a 5/6 for 2 that you can play at any point in the game is going to be pretty big value.
Yeah, and then there's also just Young Pyromancer, which I think is just one of the best creatures in every format that it's legal in. Vintage, Legacy, and Modern. So it really is just a fantastic creature.
Well, any format that it's legal, along with Gitaxian Probe.
Correct, yeah. So, yeah, basically I'm in love with Gitaxian Probe. It is probably my favorite card right now. I mean, you trigger your Pyromancer with it. It fuels your Treasure Cruise, which also, triggers the Pyromancer. It's just being able to see your opponent's hand is just invaluable information. Being free and a spell that triggers this guy and fuels this, really just insane how good that card is. Yeah, it was. I just love this card so much. Just people always say that you don't need this card as training wheels. But you know what? How about I get off the training wheels and just look at my opponent's hand and yeah, I don't know.
It's very good.
You can maybe kind of reason what they probably have in their hand, but you could also just look at their hand.
Draw a card, and it's a Lotus Petal for Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, so I don't know, a lot of awesome things there. We have Serum Visions, which would love that to be, Preordain or Ponder, but can't always get what we want. So Serum Visions, best of the bunch. It's actually the best at flipping Delver, though.
It is.
So, and then we have Thought Scours, Vapor Snags, some Spell Snares and Remand, Spell Pierces, just a couple of random all-purpose spells, and then we have removal, Lightning Bolt, Fork Bolt, Pillar of Flame, Electrolyze, stuff that can also go to the Dome as well, which is important with the aggression that Delver, Goyf, and Young Pyromancer can provide.
Yeah, I remember before the Delve spells were printed, I was playing Blue-Red Delver in Modern, and a lot of people wanted to play Magma Spray instead of Pillar of Flame. But just being able to do 2 damage to your opponent is a pretty huge boon. So
yeah, sometimes just going straight to the Dome is where you want to be. So
yeah, it was a little more relevant before when we were all in on Snapcaster, but even here, you draw 3 cards, you want it to be Pillar of Flame and not Magma Spray. So
yep, agreed. I mean, you're gonna be drawing 3 cards at sorcery speed anyway, so yeah. But yeah, that's the main deck for this deck. It looks pretty awesome, and I'm excited to play with it, so let's go ahead and look at the sideboard. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the sideboard. Here we have an Electrickery, which comes in against basically other Young Pyromancer decks, or tokens, or Soul Sisters, or just there's a number of random decks where you want -1. It's the same thing as all the pod decks main decking Orzhov Pontiff. It's just very good a lot of the time.
Yep.
A couple of Threads of Disloyalty. You're going to want those against things like Tarmogoyf. I don't know if anyone still plays Lockstone Smiter or cards like that, but just anything that's going to brick wall your guys. That's where you're going to want some Threads of Disloyalty. Probably not Lockstone Smiter, but
no. Probably
Tarmogoyf and Scavenging Ooze and the like.
Goyf, Scavenging Ooze, Voice of Resurgence is also not a bad one.
Yeah.
Dark Confidant, if people still play that card.
Which they generally don't, but yeah, if they do, you can take that. Ancient Grudge and Destructive Revelry, mostly for Affinity, but there are other fringe situations where you want these cards.
Breathing Pod.
Yep. Some Molten Rains, which this is really just good against Tron and Scapeshift and things, but Molten Rain is one of those cards that I really like a lot because I think it's actually good against almost everything. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, it definitely can be. I feel like Treasure Cruise and Delve in general is pushing the format to just try and be even more and more lean. And skimping on lands is one of the ways that you can up the spell count for your Delve cards. So playing cards like Molten Rain can really punish opponents for keeping some sketchy hands. On the flip side, it is just putting another land in their graveyard that they can delve away. But with a deck like this, being able to put on enough pressure before it matters, I think this is the type of deck that you want to expel in.
Yeah, like I don't think I want it in matchups where my opponent's also delving, but there are a lot of random matchups, like even this matchup, where I think that Molten Rain's actually just really good against you because one of the ways I can win is just like play a Goyf, play a Molten Rain, play another Molten Rain, and you're just dead. Things like that. So I'm a huge Molten Rain fan. We have a Dispel and a couple Negates, pieces of counter magic for combo decks and things of that ilk. And then some Dragon's Claws, which it may be surprising to see Dragon's Claw in the sideboard of a winning Modern GP deck list, but if you've been looking at Magic Online results, it would actually not surprise you that much because...
I'm surprised it doesn't have more.
Yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't have more. The Magic Online results, like, all the decks are playing like 4 Dragon's Claws on their board, so...
Yeah, I mean... Obviously, it's going to be skewed a little bit since Burn is, very accessible online.
Yep.
As well as this deck isn't all that expensive online, so it's just a lot of Blue-Red Delver, a lot of Burn. But the card is just very, very good against those decks, and if you happen to see them, it can just be a slam dunk.
Then we have a Hibernation, which I didn't even know this card was legal in Modern.
I didn't either, but it's pretty good.
It is pretty spicy, so we may have to hibernate some of CVM's cards in this event.
It'll bounce your own Goyf. You got to be careful.
It does bounce your own Goyf. That's
bounce
true.
that risk and reward.
Yeah, but it also bounces all your opponent's green permanents, so that's pretty sweet. But
Birthing Pod is a green permanent.
Yes, it is, as is Voice Resurgence, Kitchen Finks, Birds of Paradise.
And the Elemental.
Yep, so there's actually, it's really good against Pod. And actually now
Dryad Arbor is a green permanent.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I've actually had a Merfolk opponent hibernate me before, so.
Seems good against Boggles as well, to be totally honest.
Yeah, so.
Man, why haven't we been playing this card?
I don't know. Anyway, this deck looks awesome. I'm excited to play with it. We're going to be back with CVM's 4 Siege Rhino deck tech.
Yeah.
Right after this.